I think my life was so confusing before because, first of all, I wasn't waiting. I was just doing things. Somebody else gave me, oh, you should do this. Okay, I'll do it that way. Or, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to continue to do it how I've been doing it. Question it. Wait. My life was so shitty before, especially recently, because I wasn't consulting with God. I wasn't consulting with myself. I was just making decisions because somebody else told me, or I've been doing it this way, or it's natural this way. I feel comfortable this way. Some of that stuff's been there for years. Like, there's a lot of issues that we think, oh, it's been 2 years. It's not bothering me anymore. It's bothering you. And then I get on here and I'm trying to be so real all the time. Oh, I'm in the realest way. This is in the realest way. But is it in the realest way? If everything in your life is fake. Welcome back to NTheRealestWay Podcast by Marqes Smith, where we talk about so many topics in the realest way. On this podcast episode titled, Wait, Just Wait, I want to talk about my alcohol issue. I want to talk about relationships. I want to talk about the importance of deciding to wait. Something that happened just a couple of minutes ago was I got some of my equipment back from, Korea when it was shipped here. And I was trying to go back into what I was doing before, but it wasn't working. I found a new way to do things better. And once I paused, I asked myself, do I actually want to do it this way? Do I want to go back to a way where sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't work? There's a 50-50 chance that it's going to do it right or do it the wrong way. When I know that if I do it this way, I can do it better. There's a liberation about it all. You feel liberated. You feel free. Once you can understand that making decisions right now is not as important or as, detrimental to your life as you think. You don't have to make decisions right away. I said it before that our emotions and, how we feel is temporary. And if we give ourselves time to think about things, we can make better decisions in the long run. I can name so many times where I made impulsive decisions that are still affecting me to this day. And one day I'm going to talk about them. But right now, we're going to talk about this alcohol problem and what it's actually turned itself into. So previously on the podcast episode, I talked about my alcohol issue. I talked about how I didn't think I was addicted to alcohol. I thought it was just something I just did on a every other day. It wasn't too much. It was nothing too crazy, but it started to have a impact in my life. And I allowed it to continue to become something I could just go to, something I could just run to. We get so fixated on, moving forward that we don't even take a break. We don't even ask ourselves, what am I doing right now? And what is this doing for me right now and in the long run? What is it doing for me? I'm not about to just sit here. I'm not just about to continue to go on this podcast and lie and just, it's not even that I'm lying, right? It's just that I'm not facing, which is basically lying in my opinion. I'm not facing the hard truths that I need to face. Like, this is an issue. And okay, I already knew I had heavy anxiety. So much so that when I changed locations of where I was, I really felt it. I had a problem leaving people. I had a problem making friends. I had a problem leaving certain areas that I became accustomed to. And as I went to therapy, I was diagnosed with adjustment disorder, which means anytime I go somewhere different for a long period of time, like a big transition. I went to Korea, right? I had my first time I truly felt alone, and it tore me down. And that's when the alcohol problem started. Everybody want to get on here. You know, when people talk about, oh, you have a podcast, I've created 50 something podcast episodes, and people sit here like, oh my goodness, how did you do it? I was honest. At least for the most part, I tried to be. I was honest. I didn't allow when I see other people on the internet doing, you know, there's a lot of people on the internet who pretend that their life is perfect. They create podcast episodes and they don't ever want you to see the dark side. They only want you to see the nice little fuzzy pieces, and that's all cute and stuff, right? But it's not realistic. You know, it's hard out here. We be struggling. We be trying, okay? It be hard. So I want to be transparent. I want people to see that I've had an alcohol problem. I still have an alcohol problem, right? And I went to therapy and they told me that it was this. And I was like, what? It's so different talking about an issue, right? You can point out the issue all you want to. You can sit here and think about the issue all you want to. But when it's time to put in the work, what are we going to do? It's all cute to talk about things. It's all cute to, oh yeah, I got this, I got that. But what are you doing? What are you doing? Huh? We see so many people struggling because they're not taking care of themselves. They're not doing the right things. I should have been asked for help, right? But I thought I could do it by myself. Oh, I can do it all. I've created this podcast. I've done social media. I've done, you know, things in private to where I've been the one to pick myself up, and I did it effortlessly. That, oh, my alcohol problem. You know what? I didn't even think it was an alcohol problem. You know, this issue. Oh, I'm not worried about it. It's not going to get me. It's not going to be something that I have to go through. But there are certain moments in your season, in your life, to where you just wait. You just pause and you think about it. It wasn't until when I asked for help, it wasn't until I waited. I mean, I waited, you know, sometimes some people would say too late, but I mean, I'm still alive. I waited. I didn't drink when I came. I transitioned back from Korea to here. I didn't drink. I waited. And once I was able to sit with my thoughts, and you know what? The drinking wasn't okay. And going to ask help, that's when a piece of myself was able to just breathe. Oh, I can actually, you know, I felt relief. I wasn't doing it by myself. I'm no longer doing it by myself. You don't have to do everything by yourself. Life gets heavy. Life gets hard. Sometimes we need somebody to guide us or carry us along the way a little bit. You know, don't forget what you're doing and who you are. You know, don't get so fixated on other people's journey that you forget your own journey, because it's so comfortable riding along their ways and their roads. It ain't even nothing to do with you. What they're going through, leave. Okay? You have your own journey. And it wasn't until I waited that I unlocked a whole part of myself that I needed. I needed it. Instead of being so numb with alcohol that I can't feel my emotions, that I can't actually, you know, talk about things I need to talk about. I created my podcast early on in Korea. So throughout the entire time I was dealing with alcohol issues, I never said anything about it. I never told anybody. Of course, it showed up in my life, in my career. You know, it showed up there. I would be so agitated and, you know, I would just wait until the weekend and sometimes throughout the week looking for, you know, easy ways to cope. And I have a story. I have two stories. I'm going to tell the first one. I was in a lift going to the base. I was going to an appointment for therapy for this very issue. And it was quiet the entire way until at the end. And she was like, I'm sorry to bother you. You know, the Lyft driver. She was like, I'm sorry to bother you. But I had a question. Why do people get so angry when they're driving? And she went on this and more in depth with the question, and she was talking about how we allow, and I answered her back, this is what we were talking about. And I was like, and we both were agreeing about this conversation. And we were like, people with their emotions and so quick to have an impulsive decision about something that will affect them on the long run, tailgating somebody or brake checking somebody who made you mad could end your life or end their life, and there's so many things that could happen because we're so angry and we allowed our emotions to have such a impact in this second that we killed somebody or we killed ourselves because we didn't wait, because we didn't breathe and allow the situation to just be it for a minute, right? Because I promise you, sometimes the situation ain't gonna go nowhere. So ain't no need to make a rational decision right then and there. How about we make more educated decisions? How about we actually think about what's going on? So it was so weird. I felt like I was just, the way she was talking to me, I mean, I truly felt like she was, of course, I don't have like rage driving, right? But I feel like what she was saying to me connected to me in a whole nother way in my life. And that same day, maybe not the same day, but like another appointment, I was talking to my therapist and he went more in depth about how I'm not on it anymore, but they had me taking this medicine, right? This medicine was supposed to calm my anxiety down. It was supposed to be like, oh, people take this medicine. This is what they told me. People take this medicine for if they have a cold too. It's nothing too serious. When I got that medicine, when I tell you it shut down everything, my mind was locked. It was the same thing as when I was drinking, right? But it was like extreme. It was like way worse. I was like, well, this worse than what it was. Like, it's like I got the exact same feeling when I was drinking. So I was like, this defeats the purpose. This defeats the purpose of doing anything if I'm going to be, on medicine that does the same thing to help with anxiety. People drink to help with anxiety. People, do drugs to help with anxiety. I'm like, what is this? I mean, that is a drug, but what is actually doing for, when I tell you my feelings, like everything, like I was talking to people and I couldn't feel anything. Like I was like, oh, I'm supposed to laugh at this. So let me laugh. Oh, I'm supposed to feel this. Let me act like I can actually feel this, but I can't. Like, I don't know what's going on right now. Like I'm so numb. And I went to him, I was like, I don't like that. I don't feel like, I don't want to have that in my life. I don't want to use this. I don't want this to be something that I cope with. And he went on this long tangent and he was talking to me about, human, our bodies and how anxiety affects us. And I was so fascinated. I was so mind blown. And he was talking about human bodies, how we are animals. So, a lot of things, they follow through together, and we put ourselves in like the anxiety that we feel, right? I was listening to somebody talking about it on their podcast. It was like, the reason you have anxiety is because of certain people in your life, allowing certain people in your life to treat you a certain way and you don't feel okay, right? Because you don't get to be who you are. You don't get to be comfortable being who you are, happy. And we're supposed to feel free when we're around people that we care about, when we're around people who make us feel like, our inner child can be free and be happy. When I was in high school, I was aware of it, but I didn't really think too much about it. I let people treat me a certain way. And I had a best friend who I allowed to just dog me out, look at me like I was crazy sometimes when I would have an opinion about something. I really felt like I didn't matter. And I was always dealt with anxiety, but I didn't want to leave. So he gave me the way he said it, he's a quite educated man. what he told me, it changed my life completely. I decided I was never taking that kind of medicine ever again. And that there's other ways to deal with anxiety, breathing exercises. And it wasn't until I waited though. Until I waited. I decided, you know what? I'm not going to take this medicine anymore. I'm not going to go out there and drink like that anymore. I'm going to wait. We get so fixated on a solution. What's the solution? What's that solution? You know, we think we're running. Sometimes we think we're running away from the problem, or we're just doing a circle and we're running right back into the problem. That we don't realize that if we just wait, have a game plan before we actually go out there and try to execute something, that we can do way better. This conversation, I feel so vulnerable right now. I feel so, it's weird. I am going to be completely honest. I hate the way it feels. When I did I already made a podcast before this. It was a couple minutes long, and I was talking, and I was like, oh, I really don't feel like, I don't feel okay. I don't feel right about this. And I thought, you know what, if I take a little minute to just pause, I'll be okay. But I'm starting to realize that it's just this conversation. It's just me not being able to, I'm still afraid. I'm still afraid of life. I'm still afraid of just these situations happening, and I can't do anything about them. So I know I'm going to look back at this podcast episode, and I know that me waiting right now before I make decisions, and actually me specifically consulting with God before I make a decision is so important. So important. I think my life was so confusing before because, first of all, I wasn't waiting. I was just doing things. Somebody else gave me, oh, you should do this. Okay, I'll do it that way. Or, oh, I'm going to do this and I'm going to continue to do it how I've been doing it. Question it. Wait. My life was so shitty before. Especially recently. Because I wasn't consulting with God. I wasn't consulting with myself. I was just making decisions because somebody else told me, or I've been doing it this way, or it's natural this way. I feel comfortable this way. So I don't want to continue on this podcast episode saying the same thing over and over and over. I'm going to close it off soon, but really, come on, you guys. Like, we got to do better for ourselves. We have to. I slip up sometimes. I'm not gonna lie. I slipped up yesterday. What was the day for yesterday? I don't remember. It was all a blur. It was all a blur. I don't remember. But I digress. You're gonna make mistakes. But before you do anything, even if it looks good, take a minute to think about it. Take a minute to think about it. Wait. And then go off a decision. But we get so quick sometimes. But before I end it, you see, my couch is back. So happy about that. I've missed this couch. I've missed it so much. I've had so many great memories with people. I'm thankful for every single person who came onto my podcast episode before, from Alo, from Rodriguez, from Chappelle, from Green, from Travis. Who else is on the podcast? I can't believe I had so many people on my podcast. From, what's his name? Jaeger. There his name go. I was thinking about it. Jaeger. From every single person. You know, there's so many memories. There's so many people who came into my life. and more people will continue to come. So like I say at the end of every podcast episode, I give thanks to the utmost, to the highest power God. I'm thankful for my friends and my family. I am truly, truly grateful. This is NTheRealestWay Podcast. Out.
Some people, I know you're not a hillbilly. I know you're not a